Well, Megan, it's Wednesday and you were full Megan today. Um, you had a soft, this used to be my playground Madonna hairdo going on and an off-white quilted robe with shoulder pads and then Endora eye makeup as if you were, ready to take on Durwood for being a mere mortal. Um, yeah, first topic was the hearing that's going on about the Capitol riots, insurgents, terrorist attack, however we want to describe it, and the hypocrisy of the Republican lawmakers asking questions the of the witnesses, um, as if these Republican lawmakers weren't actually part of the reason that all of these white supremacists, Proud Boys, and MAGAs showed up. And trying to place blame on Nancy Pelosi and just obfuscating and deflecting and so when it comes your turn to speak, Whoopi says, Megan, you've been following the security. What's your take? And again, Megan, you don't answer the question about these hearings, but you go off on a soliloquy about the security of the Capitol and your whataboutism. What if it were ISIS? Our unprotected Capitol building. Well, on any given day, prior to January 6th, anybody could wander up there. You'd have a harder time getting in, but it didn't have the tanks and barbed wire around it that it does now. And the reason it does is because a bunch of Republican followers, your party constituents, attacked and terrorized the Capitol and the lawmakers in it. But and you, on the day of the attack, you, Meghan McCain, co-host of The View, had enough of a warning just going by, seeing everything that was going on, that you felt the need to call your producer to talk about it. So the Capitol Police must have known something was coming in advance, based on that deep analysis. And but first you were talking about what if it were ISIS, and what if it were ISIS, Megan? What if it were? Would Josh Hawley still have been raising a fist in solidarity to ISIS? Would the majority of the Republican lawmakers continue to have a vote to achieve what ISIS went there to do? Would the GOP be complicit with ISIS? That's your analogy. It could be. They certainly worked to try to overthrow our system of government. So that's a good point, Megan. What if it were ISIS that Josh Hawley was supporting? Would then you finally break down and say, that's not good. That's not good. He shouldn't do that. And criticize a Republican? I don't know what it would take. But the fact that you're missing the point that the people that are asking the questions were involved in creating the problem. You're not, as an analyst, you're not really taking charge of the situation. You're using your platform to create a little more fear and exaggerate an imaginary scenario that's worse than it was. So yeah, what if it were ISIS? And you had the wherewithal to say something's wrong here. So, as an analyst that you call yourself, Meghan McCain, co-host of The View with a daily platform on major TV in the mainstream media, do you use that platform to then talk about what was going on with the Capitol Police? Is there something that they did know but they didn't prepare for anyway? Was there something else going on besides just the random people outside that we didn't know were going to show up? We all knew they were going to show up. Why aren't you doing any kind of analysis on what's going on, what was going on with the preparedness? Why weren't they better prepared? Why wasn't the National Guard already there? Or is ISIS that much of a threat that you have such a lack of trust in our national intelligence that you don't think that we would know that ISIS was coming? Because we knew they were coming. The Capitol Police knew they were coming, but something's wrong. But that's not a topic you apparently want to discuss, even though you're very interested in security. So then you use your platform yet again to complain about how the media is treating Republicans like you. And you said you thought Democrats would welcome with open arms a Republican like you. Went on a big soliloquy about how it's just been vitriol, and on an hourly basis, your criticism of Republicans by Democrats, lumping everybody in together, and you end your tirade with, "I would never vote for a Democrat." We'll get to the other stuff in a second, but let's look at that. Why do you need to be welcomed with open arms by Democrats if you are clearly, you just said, "I will never vote for a Democrat"? Then where's that common ground? What are we gonna find? What is the point of our welcome open arms to someone with that stance? I will never vote that way. And by saying you'll never vote for a Democrat, you have just admitted what we've been deducing from all along, that you did vote for Donald Trump. Yet you supported his impeachment. So what a hypocrite. I don't understand where your moral ground is. You talk about being tribal about the Republican Party, and that's all you know how to do. You can't defend because they have defensible points of view. And you're complaining about being lumped in together and that the Democrats are supposed to welcome you with open arms. The Republican Party just supported an insurrection against the Capitol of the United States, led by the leader of the Republican Party, the former disgraced, twice impeached President Donald Trump, and supported by the majority of the federal Republican lawmakers in the Capitol. And you, as a Republican, don't even want to acknowledge that, let alone apologize for it, appease for it, talk in any way about how your party could be doing better. You don't want to disown white supremacy and the QAnon and the MAGAs and the Confederates. You don't say those things. The vast majority of your federal representatives don't. And by representatives, I'm including the House and the Senate. So, there's only so many times we can be victims. The Democrats can be victims of the Republican abuse. And no, we're not going to just crawl back and say, "Oh, yeah, okay, come on back home. Yeah, it's okay. Don't you tried to kill us, but that's all right. You can come in now. Fuck off." So in that big long answer, you never actually addressed the actual topic. But again, you're using your platform as part of the mainstream media to complain about the media. Figure it out, lady. Next, we have a discussion about Ron DeSantis potentially being a presidential candidate in 2024. His poll numbers are so good in Florida. And, it was discussed that he was in his rollout of the coronavirus vaccine, um, giving priority to wealthier counties and whiter counties and counties that supported him in his election. And so the topic is a good idea. Is he a viable candidate for president in 2024? All the rest of your co-hosts give, thoughtful answers and, actually analyze the question. And you say, well, I think he's been doing a great job on the rollout. And might I remind you of the hundreds of thousands of senior citizens that were camped out overnight trying to get a vaccine because they didn't have a reservation system? That didn't seem so great. And then you quoted a stat that he had 13% of his state vaccinated. And then you try to do a comparison to California, where you say 14% of the state was vaccinated. And I don't know if you know how math works, but 13 is a lower number than 14. So he's not doing as well as California. But a little over 13% is the national average of the percentage of people getting vaccinated. So he's on average. I don't know what the point of that statistic was and why you brought that up and why you thought that was important. And then you go on to say, people are leaving California and there's a recall for the governor. I don't know how that has anything to do with should Ron DeSantis be running for president in 2024. You point out that, lots of New Yorkers are moving to Florida. That's always been true. Lots of people move to Florida or change their residency to Florida because they don't have any state income tax. They rely entirely on sales tax, assuming that the tourist industry will fill their coffers. And, that's struggling a little bit this year. So, I don't know, as an analyst, you, Meghan McCain, co-host of The View, what you think about DeSantis as a potential candidate. Mitt Romney, that's how this topic started, says that if Donald Trump ran, he would win the nomination again. And you had zero to say about that. It's mind-boggling the perception you have of yourself as an analyst, as a co-host of The View, and how you're just waste an opportunity on national television every day. You're the #1 rated daytime program, and you want to spend your time complaining about the media, which you're a part of. Give me a break. There was a guest, and you asked a question about the vaccine rollout and what should you be able to expect. It was the doctor who got fired for giving out vaccines, and he didn't really answer your question because you still want like a hard date of when everything is going to go back to normal. You want things back to normal. I hate to tell you this, sweetie, but normal isn't a thing that actually exists, but we can have that esoteric conversation another time. It's not going to go back to the way it was. And so you're going to have to learn to adapt, which is maybe something that you're not used to doing. Maybe that's something, daddy didn't teach you. But while we're on the subject, you spending all of your time on TV being a partisan hack who avoids actually giving any analysis of conservatism and continues to just vilify Democrats and evade the topic and complain about how Republicans are being treated. you talk all the time about the legacy of your father, who was not a patsy to the party. And I don't know if you want to think about that for a minute, and how you've based your sole identity in the media and as your job of being this Republican diehard. You watch Tucker Carlson. That's what you said today. And that makes you some sort of an anathema. Well, you know what you get when you watch Tucker Carlson? Bullshit. Fox News, in a court of law, said no one watching Tucker Carlson should honestly believe that what they're getting from Tucker Carlson is factual information. They did it to get out of a lawsuit because all he does is go on TV and lie. So if that's the kind of thing you want to see on TV, and that's the kind of thing you want to participate in being on TV, you aren't helping anything. And you don't love this country. You're a fucking traitor because you are contributing to misinformation and a mind brainwashing of an uninformed and misinformed electorate. I don't think your dad wants you to do that.